How do you trade because I know people come and they take our courses, but they eventually become a different trader for themselves. What's your trading style? Can for example, Daniel Thomas, everyone knows him. I mean, he just trades himself. He has his own strategy. But what is your strategy? How do you trade? What's your niche or edge in the market?
So really, I use a lot of the elements. I use the patterns that Andrew, you've called out. So my favorite, frankly, is using the VWAP. So VWAP crosses, either false breaks to the VWAP or VWAP breakthroughs. I find that my most successful time for trading is not necessarily the open. It's sort of midday. It's somewhere between 10:30 and 1 or 2 o'clock. Which is odd, but that's, I guess, what works with my pattern. I am terrible at reversals, and I am terrible at low float stocks, which, when Andrew goes and trades a lot of low floats, I just have to back off and frankly stop listening because I lose money every time. And like a lot of you, I watch Andrew. He's fantastic at it. He does a great job. I can't seem to do it. So I've had to learn what works for me. The other thing that I do very differently than a lot of people, because I know I get this question a lot in the chat, is about trade sizing. Because I know a lot of people say, I am going to take 200 or 400 or 1,000 shares. That just doesn't make sense to me because I like to trade, as some of you know, a lot of the high-priced stocks. Like I'll easily trade Tesla at $350 a share or Apple at $200 a share, etc. So I can't take 200 or 400 shares of those sometimes because the moves are so big. So I've got myself a little calculator that I've actually shared with some of you where I vary my share size on every trade based on the risk. So I look at the chart and say, my natural, the technicals are telling me there's a stop loss that's, whatever, let's say 20 cents away. And if my risk that day is $100 I'm willing to take on that share, then I can trade 500 shares. So I change that every time. If I'm trading a Tesla and I say I've got to take a $2 risk, then I may only be taking 50 shares.
Nice. How did you find Variable Traders? How did you find our community?
I found it through the book, like a lot of people. It was one of those, I was an Amazon Prime member, and I was downloading a bunch of Kindle books, and Andrew, yours popped up, and I said, I put it on the back burner for a few weeks, and when I finally got to it, I read it, and I said, all right, so this makes sense, and you referenced what was then Vancouver Traders in the back, and I checked you out, and I said, I've been here ever since.
Nice. Yeah, actually, for people who are new, I mean, Peter is one of the very, very new, first guys who joined our chat room. I think there was another guy, Ronald. I think Ronald is not around anymore, but Peter and Ronald were one of the very first people. So is there any, oh, Jason was too. Is there any question from the chat room? Any guys, do you have any questions from Peter? I mean, I have questions, but if anyone. Yeah, that's okay. A good question. How was your profitability path, and what kind of, path you can recommend to people who start simulation and they want to do?
Sure. So Christophe will answer yours, and Jeremy, I'd like to come back to yours about how do you know when you're ready to go live, because I've got a different perspective on that than a lot of people too. So first on Christophe, honestly, I'm still working on it. I am a year in, and I don't feel that I'm a comfortable, consistent trader at this point. I am still trading very small size. So while I'm doing it full time, I'm not doing it right now to try and earn an income and pay the bills, if you will, because I found that I just couldn't handle it. The risk I had to take in terms of dollar amount hurt my head, and I couldn't hold on properly. So, I am generally consistent right now. I think if I look, I've got my spreadsheet here. I've about 72% of my trades, and I'm about 80% on my days in terms of profitable. But I'm not profitable, to a point where I feel I can survive on it. Sorry, guys, I've got an alarm going off. Not sure if you can hear that. There's a new IPO out, AMAL, for anybody who's interested. Just released. All right. So So right now, honestly, my target on a daily basis, $300. If I hit $200 max loss, then I'm out. Most days, what my biggest challenge is taking the trade. As some of you know, I put something up maybe a week ago, where I've got these papers taped to my monitor where it says "Take the damn trade," because I am hesitant. I am nervous. And they say don't trade with scared money. All my money's scared. I'm naturally a fairly conservative person. So most of my days, I am somewhere between minus $200 and plus $300. Occasionally, I get $500 or $600, but I never have big blowouts either. So, I'm working on, frankly, I would love to be I'm in here for 20 minutes, I hit my daily goal, and I'm out. Frankly, that has not happened to me yet. I've hit my daily goal, but never till the mid-afternoon. So, Christoph, and everyone, your path to profitability, I know we all want it to go really fast, right? You love to quit the day job. You'd love to jump into day trading. I think Andrew has said it really well in the past that, it is like being a professional athlete, and your performance is based on what you do in the field. But how many years of training, how many drills do you have to run? How many times do you have to, make that happen so that you can then trade profitably in the game? And the difference between trading and a professional athlete is there are minor leagues where you get to practice. There's no like minor stock market, right? You're either in or you're out. Like, you're on the field with the big boys and girls, from day one, and that's extra tough. So which leads me to the other question that Jeremy asked quickly, which is how do you know when you're ready to go live? I developed a lot of bad habits in simulation. Andrew, sorry to use your trading today, but what Andrew did on Yelp, I would do that all the time. So it was one of those things where I thought I was just playing because I'm like, oh, what the hell, right? It's just simulation. I get myself into trouble, and then I would average up. And you know what? At the end of the day, it always worked. But what happened was I was basically, sometimes I would have $1 million worth of trades in my basket or shares. And then, yeah, sure, I ended up break even, but obviously you can't do that, right? My account is nowhere near the size to make that happen. So when I went live, there was that and a bunch of other things that I realized I was not doing appropriately. So my recommendation is do a month or two in simulation, and then you should go live. And I don't trade one share. Just trade, it doesn't matter, right? But trade something live so you know how you react emotionally, because it's not the technicals you have to worry about once you go live. It's your emotions. Can I handle it? Can I handle actually seeing a negative amount on my unrealized P&L? Right? Can I said my stop loss was going to be 20 cents away, and I'm willing to take $100 risk. When it says minus $80, are you going to hold it, or are you going to get out? And that's, frankly, that's been one of my biggest challenges. On the other side, Andrew is a master, I find, at cutting his losses short. So I may have a target. I may say I'm willing to hold for 20 cents. But you know what? If the action doesn't look right and it's moving against me, get out early. On the other side, I also have a challenge in holding it, because then I get all excited, right? I'm in, all right, I'm up 10 cents. And then you sell half your position. The reality is you never get back to making 2 or 3 times the risk that you're willing to take. So when you have a loss, it wipes out your last 3 profitable trades. So I honestly, I'm still working at that. I'm still struggling with it because I sell too early, and that's why I trade really small size, so at least I don't have the trouble in holding. So again, back in the when should you go live, again, my recommendation, go live occasionally during your sim time and just do it, again, do a couple of trades, do a day, see how it feels. Don't risk a lot of money, but see how you react emotionally in that moment, and then go back to sim and say, okay, did it feel the same? Was I able to trade the same way? Like, you got to be honest and assess yourself, and then go back and practice again, go live a little bit until you're really comfortable, and then you put yourself live. And you know what? Robert is a good example where he demoted himself back to sim, right? He's been live for a while. He went back and said, you know what? Something's not working. I'm going to go back and figure it out. And frankly, I'm considering doing that next week myself. But
that's a good advice, Peter, because making $100 a day is not really that much different from making $500 a day. But what is difficult is making $1 a day consistently, and that's what right. People always say that increasing a share size a little bit is really not that difficult, but getting consistent in just $1, $5 a day, that's the big challenge. Otherwise, if your account is bigger, you can just a little bit take an extra share size.
Yeah.
Is there any other question from?
Yeah, sorry, I've been scanning as the questions go. If I could jump in there, Andrew. A couple people, Fabio, I see, and Matt, you've said you've demoted yourself. So hey, that's not a bad thing, right? Get back and practice. You know, between every big game, you need practice time on the field. So it's good to run scrimmages. That's what Sim lets you do. Mike, and anybody who wants that little calculator, it's super simple. Don't expect anything big. It's just a tiny little Excel spreadsheet, but I'm happy to share it with anyone. Just private message me your email address and I will send it out to you. Another question I saw going back was the how many positions. So Greg, how many positions do you manage, or what's your system? So there actually is a video in the video log where I talk, I think it says DAS Pro Trader Setup. If you look at that, it goes through my whole setup, but in general, I've got 3 27-inch monitors on my main trading platform where I have the chat room on one side, and I've got sort of 2.5 monitors dedicated to DAS. I look at basically 5 complete, what I call a complete trade setup, which includes the montage, a 1 or 2 minute chart depending on the time of day, a 5 or 15-minute chart and daily chart. I flip between that and the bottom chart, and then time and sales. So I have that set up 5 times, and then I've got a couple other tracking stocks that I look at. One thing that I don't put on my screen is my P&L, and I actually made that mistake today. I took a peek at my P&L, and then I had this trade we were talking about on PRGO, and I traded my P&L, and I lost an opportunity to make some money because I didn't trade the technicals. I was trading my balance. So I've learned I can actually go now. It's taken a while, but I can go an entire day without ever looking at my P&L. So I don't know if I'm, you know, I know you always know if you're green or red, I find generally, unless it's really, really tight. But I don't want to know, because I find that then I start trading and say, I just want $10 more. And that's a recipe to lose yourself 50.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So Sonny, to your question about how do I know if I'm a max loss profit, you know, I don't. You generally know if you're having a fantastic day, then I'll take a peek to see if I'm over my $300 target is what I'm, you know, trading. But you can't. I find that you can't. At least I can't enter or exit a trade based on that P&L. Because again, if you know, what if I'm at $280 and I'm going to enter a trade just to make the extra $20? I'm probably going to pick the wrong trade. I'm going to pick a trade where I think I can make a quick couple of bucks, as opposed to a trade that has good technical indicators. And that's why, you know, I don't. Now, if I think I'm over, I may take a look and say, oh, look at that. I'm at $450. Yeah, you know what? I don't see anything good right now. I'm out. But I will not check it purposely just to understand how close I am to the line. Any other questions? Favorite trading books? Ricky, aside from Andrew's, of course, there's a few, and they're going to be standard ones that you've heard of. Certainly, Trading in the Zone is good. It's a simple book. It gives you 1 or 2 good ideas that I like to look at. There's a book that I've marked up that I enjoy. It's called Trading for a Living by Dr. Alexander Elder. I think, Andrew, you referenced that in your on the web somewhere.
Yeah, it's a great book. Yeah.
And then there's another one which really surprised me that
it's mostly on swing trading, but there's a lot of good information on risk management and psychology there too as well.
Yeah, I find that I actually gravitate towards the swing trading books and then take the information I like out of them. I find that the day trading books are, I don't know, they don't resonate with me. They're usually not technical enough, or don't give me the instruction I need to properly day trade. So one that I actually like that has helped me a lot is, believe it or not, Swing Trading for Dummies. The author is Omar Basal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it surprised me because I don't usually like the dummies books, but this one actually was really well written, and it's a good book that I recommend people check out.
I agree. It's a great book.
So, Elias, do you ever feel like quitting? How do you overcome that? We were joking about that the other day. So, Ryan, no, I don't have a day job right now. I call myself retired, but I have the good fortune of being able to afford doing this full time. And it's funny. Somebody mentioned something the other day that in a conversation I was having, where they said, you know, it's like everybody likes, you know, people might like to play basketball. It doesn't mean everybody's good at it. And we have to acknowledge. I'm sort of acknowledging in day trading. I love day trading. I'm not sure that I'm a natural professional at it. Like, it's taking me a long time to figure this out and get good. You know, I watch Andrew like you guys do, and I say, geez, like, if only I could have those skills. But that's like watching Wayne Gretzky in a hockey rink, or watching, you know, Michael Jordan on the basketball court. You know, and honestly, I think that comparison is very apt. Andrew is trading with the best in the world, and he's extraordinarily consistent in his ability to make profits. Ignore today. But yeah. But you know what, but if you look at his overall consistency, Andrew, you're still whatever, right? 95, 96%, whatever the number is, right? I mean, you're extremely consistent in the way you do. So to Elias, to your question about quitting, you bet. I don't think there's a trader out there that doesn't on some days say, what the hell am I doing? I can't do this, right? Like, it's not working. And you don't know what's not working, right? And that I always find is the worst feeling. You know, what the heck? Why am I taking the wrong trades? Why does the market seem to hate me today? I think we all go through those feelings. When you're feeling that way, to me, clear sign, stop, right? Put down the pen, stop trading live if you're trading live, go back to sim if you have to, or walk away. You really need to get the emotion out of it, because that's going to make you trade emotionally, whether you're consciously aware of it or not, and move back. Do some assessment. Look, was I following my rules? If I was following my rules every single time, like every rule, not just the rules I decided I wanted to apply, if I followed my rules and it wasn't working, then I go back and assess the rules. Are they the wrong rules? Has the market changed? And, you know, I've been watching Andrew for almost a year now, and Andrew's changed his rules over the last year. Right, so I've watched him do things subtly different, and we all have to be aware. You know, it's like a living organism; it changes, and you need to be able to adapt yourself to the market. We're all trading in a summer market right now. It is different than trading in a fall or winter market. I've now had 2 opportunities to trade 2 summers. Last summer was very different than this summer, and I've only got those 2 areas for comparison. But it's you know, I'm noticing it's very different this summer than last summer. So I'm eager to see what the fall looks like. But you know, so yeah, don't quit because you feel like I can't do this. Go back and reassess. Be honest with yourself. What's working? What's not working? What do I need to work on improving? And the other thing I would say against that, and these are all hard-learned lessons that I've learned the hard way, is don't try and fix everything all at once. If anybody's taken any sports training in that, like golf is a good example, right? If you try and fix the angle of your swing and how fast you're swinging, you try and fix too much at the same time, that's usually when you screw it up. Focus on a skill at a time. I think Robert has said this too in some of his rants. Focus on a skill at a time. All right, so I seem to be very bad at sticking to my stops. Go back to sim and stick to your stops. Don't worry about the rest of it per se, or my entries are poor, or what. Like, pick one thing at a time until you feel comfortable, move on to the next, and then you add that all up, and you get good at it. It's like practicing a skill in, again, any sport, right? You can't practice every skill at the same time. People take slap shots in hockey for, like, you know, for just slap shot after slap shot for hour after hour after hour to get that skill right, then you move on to the next thing. What is the one thing you overcome which gave you confidence to go live? Khalid, I'm not sure that there was one thing. Like I said, I sort of practiced my skills one at a time. I went live after, I said, 3 months of book study, 3 months of simulation, and my 3 months of simulation, to give you an idea, I was 95% profitable on my days, and I think I was a little under 90% profitable on my trades. Every day I was making $500 to $800. Like, I'm thinking, like, I got this, right? I am an awesome trader. I went live and I lost money for 2 weeks straight, every single day. So I bumped myself back and I said, okay, so what's different? I realized I wasn't following my rule. I wasn't able to follow my rules. And then I took a critical look at what I was doing in sim, and I wasn't following my rules there. So I had to go change it. I had to go back and reassess. So after the reassessment, I went back and tried it live. Can I manage my emotion with these rules? I couldn't. I went back to sim. I practiced there a little bit. I went back live with much smaller size, and I realized I could start to manage it. So for me, it was an iterative process where I had to figure it out until I got comfortable, where now I'm able to trade sort of live every day. Ryan, are you fully retired? Did you save a huge amount? Ryan, I had the opportunity, and not everybody's in this position, but I had really big jobs in those companies. So yeah, I had the opportunity to make a lot of money and save a lot of money. So I'm leveraging that, But as I said, the problem is it's tough to go from a salary to no salary, no matter how much money you've got in the bank. And I said every one of my dollars is scared, and it causes me to trade, I know, much more cautiously than I could, because I look at things and I say, oh, geez, you know, if I was a little more free, if I didn't worry about losing it, I could have taken that trade. That's not a good path to be successful as a trader, I find, because then you play the coulda, shoulda, woulda game. That'll emotionally and mentally, that'll kill you. ZZ Top, my wife certainly doesn't think we're rich. She's terrified. She hates trading, only because there's no steady income, right? Like I'm sitting here, you know, I'm sitting here making $50 a day or something, or $60 a day on average. Like that's not covering, that's not paying for anything. So, and I don't blame her, right? I mean, I've got no security in doing this, but I've decided, you know, since I have the opportunity, I'm going to try to do something I'm passionate about, and hopefully make it work. Still working at it. So you trade during the afternoon.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When people are going from simulator to live, and then they have some bad days at the beginning when they're going live. I think you mentioned you were losing money for 2 weeks. Did you switch back to simulator, or you reduced share size? Or what did you do when you had those 2 weeks losing day?
Yeah, I switched back to simulator, and I took I spent a very long weekend after those 2 weeks looking at everything and saying, so what was different? And I realized a lot of stuff on that I was, you know, in live I wasn't trading to my rules, but in simulation I wasn't actually trading to my rules either. So I had to go back and reassess my rules, and every time you change a rule, I believe you need to sort of practice that in sim to make sure it actually works. So I changed my rules. And then I went back live for a bit. I actually lost more money. You know, I went back and practiced some more until I was comfortable sort of working live most of the time, which is where I am now, pretty much live every day. Somebody asked a question about how many positions I take at a time. I find 2 really stresses me right now. I have taken 4 positions at one time. I don't recommend that. 3, I'm at the edge of what I could actually handle. My brain starts to short circuit, I realize, because then you're not actually looking at patterns. I'm just looking at how profitable is this trade, or how much have I lost, and I can't. So really 2 positions is about what I personally can manage effectively at this point. How much have you lost? Look, at my peak, I lost. Well, I'll be honest with numbers. I started with a $25,000 account, and I lost $9,000 of it. So, you know, so that's like a third of my account, and then I slowly, you know, started to work it back. So. Now I'm at a point where I've been able to sort of earn that back, and I'm slightly above break even. But to give you guys an idea, like this is me trading, you know, no more than, you know, target of $300 a day, and that's, by the way, increased from where I was before. So to give you an idea, in my path, it's taken me a year to go from to lose 9,000 and then make it back. So after a year, I'm no better than break even. I'm in Canada. Hey, it's Daniel Thomas. Hey, Daniel. I'm in Canada, so yeah, so I didn't, I can, there's no lower account size limit that I have to worry about. You said you trade in the afternoon. Many stocks lose volume if you have a large share size. You know, a lot of the trades I take in the afternoon, I actually take in the late morning and I hold them through the afternoon. I've got another sign or a part of my strategy where I really look for trend trades. So I find if I've entered a trend, I just let it run. You know, the thing that I've had to struggle with over a period of time is letting something really run, because you can get big pullbacks, right? So let's say you're up $3 on a stock, which we could have been in Roku or Yelp or something like that you're in. You know, you're going to let it pull back all $3, because, you know, you tend to look at the P&L. Let's say you're down to, in my case, I could be down to 25 shares. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to let it ride. But then I go from $75 in unrealized profitability to $10, and I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot, right? I just lost a bunch of money. But sometimes you need to do that if you're going to ride the trend, because by the end of the day, it could be up $5 or $6. And I may not have a technical where I would say I would re-enter the trade, but I'm willing to hold it. And so far in my, you know, in my year of experience, I found that more often than not, I make more money than I lose by holding I usually try and hold the last quarter of my shares. David, my favorite setup, I said, is generally a VWAP break. I'm most comfortable trading from the VWAP because I feel that it limits my risk. When things get too extended away from the VWAP, I get nervous. So, you know, my absolutely most favorite trade is when the VWAP is right on top of a previous day close. Absolutely love that, because then I can trade up or down either way, depending on what, you know, the stock is doing, and I feel very comfortable. I can take a small stop, and I can let it run for a long way. EST, do you set your stop loss tight or not? Well, again, it completely depends on what the technicals are telling me, right? It depends on the amplitude of the stock, how fast it's moving, where the last sort of level was. You know, like, you know, let's pick something you guys can look at. Look at Goose, Goos, if you're looking at that right now, right? So if I was to trade Goose short from this period, I would say, well, look, to me, the next natural place to take a stop loss would be above VWAP. So I'd have to put it to at least 57.40, which is 45 to 50 cents from where it's sitting now. So, you know, that's a 50 cent, you know, risk that I'd have to be willing to take, because I don't see any other levels that I think it would necessarily stop at. Whereas if you look at, what else am I watching right now? So VIAB, if you're watching Viacom, here's one that you say, if you're long biased on that, and it's right now it's sitting at 30.26. It also doesn't move very fast. That one I could say, all right, so I'm willing to let it go to the bottom of the candle at 30.17, and right now it's sitting right at VWAP at 30.22. So that's only a 5 cent risk that I'm willing to take. So it completely depends on what I'm trading. How do you tell the difference between a false VWAP break and one with high confidence of breaking and continuing? Dave 101, you know, I don't think you do. I don't think anybody does. All I really look at is, has a broken VWAP before, or has it, every time it's approached VWAP in the previous 2 days, what's happened? And I look and say, does it tend to sort of go up and through and back down? Does it tend to bounce off the VWAP? Depending on how many times it's done each, gives me more confidence in the trade. But really, you don't necessarily know. I just play the odds. I play the odds that if it's done it many times in the past, this stock is likely to do it again. And you're right, Andrew, you're watching Yelp?
Well, yeah, I'm doing some stuff on the back. But no, that's a great point, Peter. I mean, in the false breakouts, you really don't know it's a false breakout until you can see that. But trading is a game of statistics. I mean, if you manage your risk and take trades that only have you know, a good risk to reward, a favorable risk to reward, at the end of the day, you know, you become positive. I mean, getting stopped out is, you know, not an issue. It's part of trading. It's like, for example, a professional athlete, if, you know, a soccer player, they might, you know, fall down in the middle of the game. That's part of the game. As long as you manage your risk and you don't blow up your account, getting stopped out, it's really normal. I mean, if you watch the interview with Carlos, when I asked him, Carlos, what was the moment that, you know, you really moved into the next step? Carlos said, I mean, the moment that I, you know, make peace with the fact that I have to get stopped out. There's nothing wrong with getting stopped out.
Yeah. Firas, you ask a question. When you see a pattern you want to jump in, do you take a minute to decide where your stop and profit target is, which might make you lose your entry, or do you jump in and decide once you're in? So this is another question I've been asked a lot. I have a very particular perspective on this. So I purposely trade slow, because I've learned that, like, people like hotkeys and they want to set hotkeys, and they've got, what are those I always forget what they're called, the Steam Deck or the whatever it is, right? You buy like an extra thing, you can punch keys real fast. I don't do that. Yes, I decide my stop loss, I decide my risk, I decide my profit target every time before I get into a trade. If I don't have time to do that and it moves against me, fine, let it go. I'll look for the next one. And I also don't have hotkeys, because I've made hotkey mistakes where you thought you were going long and you went short, or you wanted to exit and I doubled. I did all that stuff and I said, this is stupid. If I don't have enough time to properly assess what I'm doing, I don't want to do it. So Yeah, I'll take the time. I'll look at it. Occasionally I miss things, but I think, my view also, it stops me from making bad mistakes, because sometimes impulsively you're like, oh, it's going up, buy. And you jump in, and then you look at the technicals, you're like, what the heck, right? I mean, it's hitting like 4 moving averages, and it's actually below VWAP. Why would I have done that? So I take the time to do it beforehand, and if I don't have time, I let the trade go. Regarding accepting the loss. Oops, sorry. Yeah, Ruben, I agree with you. The hardest part of trading is accepting the loss. That comes to the mental toughness and the psychology, right? Managing yourself. The technicals are fairly straightforward. Let's face it, trading is not that complicated from a technical perspective, right? We learn a couple of signals. I mean, some people use 1 or 2 lines on their chart. They don't use much. I use more indicators, the indicators that Andrew advocates. So moving averages, 9, 20, 50. I use a 100 and 200, the VWAP. I set my own levels based on daily charts, but learning all of that is relatively easy. Applying it is difficult. And again, I'll come back to the sports analogy. Andrew's used it. I think it's fantastic. In theory, playing soccer is easy, right? You put a ball on your foot and you kick it. How tough could that be? But to play soccer at a world professional level is extraordinarily difficult, because it's mastering those skills to a point where you can do it with the best of the world. That's really tough. Any last questions? We should probably wrap this up. Renato, I do not trade overnight. I have not. I've looked at swing trading. I've sort of paper and played with swing trading, but I don't trade overnight at all. I am flat at the end of every day. Paul Papa G, how do you track performance? I love spreadsheets. I guess being an IT guy, I've got a bunch of spreadsheets that I track everything on. Recently, I started using TraderView. And I don't know if anybody's used that. It's really good. I used it for free for a little while. They limit the number of trades you can upload, but I've now paid for a subscription. I don't use all of the stats and reports. Some of them are not good, but it's not bad. It's worth checking out to try and track your trades. What do you like about it? I use it too. So Wesley, the things that I like in TraderView is just the quick snapshot you can get of your P&L, and I actually like the dashboard view. So what the dashboard view does that's a little unique is not only does it show you your P&L over the course of the day for the trade you executed, it maps it to the stock performance, and it'll actually tell you what your P&L could have been if you had sold at certain points. So some days I may look and I say, well, my P&L spiked up, but I didn't sell. Should I do something differently? Should I have looked at that trade and maybe I should have sold at that point? Was there a technical indicator that told me I should have scaled out? It's actually very interesting to look at that. So those are the 2 things that I use most. Dave Woman, do you continue to try different strategies? Right now, Dave, I'm trying to perfect the strategies that I'm comfortable with. So again, VWAP break or false breakout, opening range break up and break downs, obviously first thing in the morning that I use. That's pretty much all that I use. I stay away, like I've mentioned, the stuff that I'm not good at. So reversals, I did some today. I basically lost all my profits today trying to take reversals. Why do I do that, right? I'm not good at them. I will practice those later once I feel I'm, more of an expert in the stuff that I know that I'm good at, and I get completely consistently profitable. So, focus on a couple of trades. That's the other thing. Last piece of advice maybe I'll provide. I have a bad habit of trying to look at too much. Andrew, I know you shared his setup. He's got a 6-screen setup. Other people have big, 6 whatever, right? Multiple screens. These 3 screens, sometimes I look and I say, oh, I don't have enough real estate, right? I need more screen real estate to look at everything. When you look at too much, for me, it makes me erratic, and I don't actually focus on things. I find that when I limit the number of stocks I'm going to look at, and that means you have to ignore when somebody's calling out at something that I'm not following, sometimes I just have to completely ignore that, no matter how good the trade is. Stick with the stuff that you're watching. And to me, I always say to myself, watch what you're watching, right? Because I'll make a bad trade, the move isn't good. Maybe I was just too early. Maybe it was the right trade, but it was too early. Yesterday was a good example where I made 2 trades. I was too early, then the stock did exactly what I was expecting, but I stopped watching it. I moved to something else. So I actually I reduce the number of things that I'm watching to what I can handle, and then I stick with that. How do you know where to enter and exit since you said you quit and closing if you're about $100? I have a challenge to do so. So QMS, I'm not sure if you're asking. Oh, so on any given trade, I do have my unrealized P&L on the screen. So in a trade, I know how much I'm making or losing on that individual trade. Even that I try not to look at, because my exit shouldn't be based on the dollars, though. It should be based on what I've determined was my stop loss. If it's 20 cents and I'm 20 cents, you know, I'm approaching the 20-cent limit of what I said I was going to take as risk, I should exit no matter what the dollars tell me, right? It's so I do have it, but some days I actually close it off if I find I'm paying too much attention to it. Okay, thanks everybody. Thank you, Andrew, for the opportunity. Again, if anybody's interested in that little spreadsheet I mentioned, it's not complex. Just private message me here in the chat. Happy to provide it. And if you have other questions, feel free to send them through, and I will address as many as I can. Thanks, everybody. And you know what? Love being here in Bear Bull Traders. It is actually the best room out there. It's a good learning environment. There's no pressure for you to buy things every day. This is really about us helping each other. So I encourage you, help each other in this trade room. You know, if we all get better, it's good for everyone. Thanks a lot.
Well, thanks a lot, Peter. I appreciate that. I mean, what makes the community great are the people, really. And you know, what you do, how you help each other, how much great tips and content you're generating depends on the community. So we are really lucky to have a great community. And I think the reason for that is because, you know, we don't do any marketing. We really don't want to, you know, have anyone in the chat room. We really want only serious people, only people who really know the risk. I mean, if you start advertising on Facebook and we start, you know, showing P&L to people, a lot of people might, you know, give it a try. And then we have a big community that a lot of people are not serious and they don't know what really they're expecting from day trading. So that's why, you know, I have really no marketing campaign or anything, because we just want serious people. I mean, I'm pretty sure almost everyone in the chat, they've read the book. You know, in the book, I warned them about day trading, and they wanted to take the challenge and they start day trading. You know, they really didn't see a big P&L in the Facebook or Instagram ads or something like that.